Hello, hello. Welcome to the Conflict Masterclass. Excited to have you here. I am tuning in from my home office in Colorado, and I always love to hear where you are tuning in from. So drop it in the chat. We love to utilize the chat here. Plan on using it not only for myself to see your responses, but for you to get more involved, more bought into the conversation that we're having, more connected to the conversation. And if you don't already have your name, looks like most of you do have your name on there. I like to see that. Tell me also how long you have been in my orbit. How long have you been a part of my community that I've built online? Tell me if it's been less than a month, 1 to 6 months, or more than 6 months. That sometimes can help people. I know sometimes it's hard to actually think about when that might be. How do you switch your name? Good question. So if you hit the three dots on your own screen, then you can change that. I think it says rename or something like that. So yes, I know a lot of times you're signing in a spouse or a child or something like that. So it is helpful to be able to see your name. Okay, Rachel says less than 6 months. Great. Love to see. Hello, Anna from Colombia. Nice to see you. And Robin in Mesa. So great. I know we had a bunch of people sign up for this. Some are able to come live and some are not. So either way, this will be available for you. And I really do want to just jump in, and I'm going to be watching to make sure. Let's see. I know I see people that are jumping in here last minute. So I'm going to make sure I can see everyone. Followed for years. Okay. Great to hear. Good to know. We're going to talk about conflict today. So exciting. Who is not excited to talk about conflict, right? How to alleviate conflict is really the ideal goal here. Asking yourself, why does everything turn into a fight? Today, I'm going to show you why some of those same arguments keep repeating and what actually changes the pattern. This class is specifically for moms of teenagers who want to reduce contention in their home without giving in, backing down, or losing authority. By the end of today, you'll understand 3 shifts that break the conflict loop in a way that actually lasts. See, I'm going to pull my screen over just a little bit so I can see it over there. I'm Kristen Duke. Today, I am your coach. As someone who grew up with a pretty great mom, but struggled to feel emotionally safe with her, I had to figure out how to break the pattern with my own teens. I wanted more than just a surface relationship with my children. I'm happy to say I broke the cycle, and you can too. I now support moms with that same goal. And if you feel like everything you've tried, nothing works, I have a solution, and I'll share a snippet of that with you today. I work specifically with moms of teenagers who want to become trusted, not feared, not avoided, not tolerated, trusted. Because I don't believe the narrative that says teens are impossible, dramatic, or destined to pull away. I don't believe contentious conflict is inevitable. And I certainly don't believe the goal of the teen years is to just survive them. I created the Trusted Framework, a roadmap to help moms step out of what I call teenager jail, that exhausting cycle of power struggles and wondering why you keep trying and nothing changes. But this isn't about solving today's arguments. It's about protecting the long-term relationship. You can't just put your head down and get through the teen years and hope adulthood fixes everything. We're watching more and more young adults choose distance from their parents. And that doesn't usually start at age 25. It starts in patterns that were never repaired at 15. This work is about breaking those patterns now, not with shame, not with control, but with leadership. And that's what we're going to begin unpacking today. This class is interactive, not just so I can see you and what you're saying, but because when you participate, you process and absorb the information differently. So I want you to drop one word in the chat that describes how conflict feels in your home right now. Just one word, drop it in the chat. How do you describe the conflict in your home right now? I want to see it. I want you to be able to articulate it. I want you to be able to identify it as well. Okay, we got constant, brick wall, draining, stressful, tense. Very good. Thank you. It's good to be able to articulate so you know what you want to eliminate and alleviate. Now, hear this. If you are tired of walking on eggshells, you are in the right place. If you've tried everything and feel like nothing is sticking, you are in the right place. If you don't feel like the mom you want to be when your conflict shows up, you are in the right place. You do not have to stay stuck in a repeating conflict loop. And by the end of this hour, you'll understand exactly what needs to shift and what to do next. I'm not here to give generic advice. I'm here because I know how to help you. As a teenager, I did not feel emotionally safe with my own mom, and that distance did not magically fix itself when I became an adult. I knew I didn't want the same quiet disconnect with my own kids, so I did the work. I studied what actually builds trust. I confronted my own blind spots. I changed how I showed up. Today, my kids are 25, 23, 20, and 16. And I'm deeply grateful for the connection that we have. The trust built, not because we avoided conflict. Conflict's inevitable. It's going to be there. But because we learned how to handle it differently. Out of that journey, I built a clear, practical roadmap for breaking the conflict pattern at its root. And that's what I'm going to begin sharing with you today. During this hour, you'll get a sampling of what I teach. And by the end, you'll know whether going deeper is the right next step for you or not. My goal for you is relief. Doesn't that sound nice? Relief from exhaustion, relief from the tension, relief from the emotional whiplash that often comes with parenting teens. Now I'm going to be direct with you, and some things are going to be hard to hear. I used to try to dilute this message because I didn't want to hurt mom's feelings, because I know how hard it is to want the relationship with your teen that feels just out of grasp. But I'm not doing that anymore. I don't dilute the message anymore. I'm telling you the truth. You get to decide if it hurts and you walk away, or if it stings just enough to propel change in yourself. Now, let me tell you something that has changed everything for me. Do you remember when your teenager was a toddler? Maybe you're at the park, you're kicking around a soccer ball, the ball rolls into the street. And without thinking, your toddler starts toddling towards the ball. In that moment, something shifts in you. You don't calmly explain the traffic patterns to that toddler. You don't say, hey, when you get a minute, please consider coming back. You run. And if you're far away, you yell, right? I'm going to draw a picture of mom yelling, because this is a yelling, right? It's stressful. It's concerning. You yell, not because you're angry, because you see something they don't see. You see the danger, and your urgency is love, not fast forward. Your urgency is love, and fast forward, they're teenagers. The street looks different now. It might be chronic conflict, escalation, emotional distance, patterns that feel small but compound. And sometimes I feel like I'm standing on the curb watching moms run into that same street. Okay, this is me. This is me yelling at you. I don't want to yell. I don't want to yell. Here's what I need you to hear at the very beginning of this class. I don't want to yell because I know you love your teenager. I see you fighting harder. I see you explaining louder. I see you controlling tighter because you love your teenager, because you see danger. And here's what I need you to hear at the very beginning. If you feel some discomfort at what you hear today, if I challenge you to think a little bit differently, if I push you to see an angle you hadn't considered before, it's not because I think you're failing. It's because I see something you might not see yet. I see where this pattern leads if it doesn't shift. And I care too much not to say something. I care too much to tiptoe around you. Today, I'm going to show you what actually pulls your teen back from the street. And later, I'm going to tell you about a deeper way to learn it. I'm asking you to listen, try not to be defensive, goal not to be skeptical, try to be open, have an open heart, because sometimes the person yelling isn't trying to control you, they're trying to protect you. Let that sink. All right, drop a yes in the chat if any of this sounds familiar with your teenager. You ask one question and suddenly you're in a power struggle. You try to stay calm and then hear yourself getting louder. You think, how did this escalate so fast? You leave the room feeling shaky or drained. You tell yourself, I handled that wrong. You feel disrespected, but also guilty for reacting. You dread bringing up certain topics because you know how it's going to end. You worry this pattern is creating distance. You think, this is not the mom I want to be in these moments. You feel alone in it, like other families are probably not fighting like this. Okay, I see the yeses. Yes, yes, yes. Look at that. Just so you know, it's not you. Hopefully this helps you feel less alone. I want you to know, look into my eyes as I say this, you are not failing. You're stuck in a pattern. You don't need to become a different mom. The parenting advice telling you to just communicate better, it's incomplete. You can become the stabilizer in your home. You are not a bad mom. You are an intentional mom. I want you to type that in the chat. I am an intentional mom. We don't do bad moms around here. I am an intentional mom. Thank you, Kate. First one, Stacy, thank you. Great job. I am an intentional mom. I want you to shift your mindset to I am an intentional mom. I can learn new skills. Okay. Many of you may be wondering what exactly has to exist before your teen is willing to actually listen, right? The golden question of the hour. What do I have to do to actually get my teenager to listen? Many of you are here because you don't know, or maybe you do know, but you're not quite sure. What has to exist with your teen? That's the question. What has to exist? I'm going to write it. It's one word. Okay, can you see that? I want to make sure you can see that. What has to exist? Oh, no, see, I cut it off just a little bit. I haven't seen my screen very well. Safety, that's the word we're looking for. Safety. Safety has to exist. Here's what I want you to know. Conflict with teens doesn't go down when your teen changes. Conflict decreases when emotional safety is present. And emotional safety starts with you. Now, I know some of you are thinking something along the lines of this. I am safe. I do everything for my kids. I sacrifice for them. I show up. I don't yell. And listen, mom to mom, I believe you. You love your teen, but here's the hard part. Love and emotional safety are not always the same thing. Let me say that again. Love, how you love your teenager, and emotional safety are not the same thing. You can love deeply and still create pressure without realizing it. You can provide everything and still unintentionally communicate anxiety, control, or disappointment, because we all have blind spots. And blind spots do not mean failure. They mean there's something you cannot see yet. And that's what we're going to uncover. My goal for you by the end of this training is that you will understand why conflict keeps repeating 3 shifts, why emotional leadership changes everything, and what to do next if you're ready to fix this at the root. In the next 45 minutes, I want to help you see what you can do as the stabilizer in your home, no matter what your teenager does. Are you ready? Type ready in the chat if you are ready to jump in and keep going. We have some friends that are still arriving. If you have just arrived, we will have, make sure you watch the beginning of this. in the replay. I'm going to send a replay out to all of you at the end, a little bit after it processes, because the beginning is important. We're going to talk about some false beliefs that you may have. Many of you believe conflict would decrease if your teen just respected you more, if they just do what you ask them to do. Am I right? Seems so simple. Many of you have tried explaining, had consequences, feel like you're staying calm, and still the behavior continues. I want to start by saying something clearly. You are not failing as a mom. You are stuck in a pattern. There is a difference. If every conversation seems to spiral, if you're walking away thinking, why did I blow up again? That doesn't mean you're bad at this. It means you're repeating a loop you were never taught how to break. And here's something else I want you to hear. You do not need to be a permissive mom. You don't need to be a mom walking on eggshells. You need a different framework, a new set of tools. A lot of parenting advice out there tells you to just communicate better, explain more clearly, set firmer boundaries, just stay calm. But if you've ever noticed that explaining something can make it worse sometimes, you're not imagining that, because conflict is not solved by more words when emotional safety is missing. And here's the part that will give you hope. You get to become that stabilizer. You're not the yeller, not the enforcer, not tiptoeing around the stabilizer. And when the stabilizer shifts, the atmosphere shifts. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to tell you about a conflict with my son, Matthew. I had this over and over again when he was in high school. He's 23 now. It was some years ago. My son used to stay up really late studying, midnight, sometimes till 1 a.m. And I would lie in bed staring at the clock thinking, he's only going to get 5 hours of sleep. He got up early. He had cross country. He had a church class in the morning. He would get up at 5 a.m. And in my mind, this was a problem that needed to be solved. So I'd walk in his room and I'd say, you need to go to bed. And he'd say, I'm fine. And I'd say, you're not fine. You need to go to sleep. And he'd say, I know what I'm doing. And within minutes, it would escalate. His voice would get more annoyed. Mine would get firmer. And suddenly we were not talking about sleep anymore. We were fighting. The crazy part is he was studying. He wasn't sneaking out. He wasn't being reckless. He was trying to do well in school. But I was so anxious about him functioning the next day that I couldn't see that. Have you ever had that moment where you thought, how did that escalate so fast? You tried logic, you tried authority, you tried explaining. 2018 Kristen had some mess ups. One night I completely lost perspective. I walked into his room and I said, if you don't go to sleep, I'm going to burn your books. I actually said that. Now, obviously, I wasn't planning to burn them, but that's how escalated I was. I walked out of his room and I sat there thinking, what just happened? I wasn't calm. I wasn't leading. I was scared. I was scared he wouldn't function, scared he'd burn out, scared I wasn't doing my job right. And instead of leading from steadiness, I was leading to control the outcome. And that's when something shifted for me. It wasn't about sleep. It was about my fear. And every time I led with fear, it created pressure. And pressure created resistance. Two activated people, activated, triggered my son and myself, both trying to win the moment. I didn't need better arguments. I didn't need stronger consequences. I didn't need him to change first. I needed to stabilize first. And when I stopped trying to win the moment and started trying to stabilize, the conflict loop began to break. Okay, we're going to jump into our 3 shifts. I'm going to erase this and show you shift number 1. But while I write this up here, I want to hear, I'm going to have you type in the chat a little bit. Tell me something. When your teen reacts in a way that frustrates you, maybe it's an eye roll, sarcasm, shutting down, snapping back, what's one word that you use to describe that behavior? How do you describe your teen's behavior when they do that? I'm going to write shift number 1 up here. That's our first item of business. That was on there. Really good. So shift number 1, we're going to talk about decoding behavior. Shift. Decode. Ooh. We're going to say decode teen behavior. Make sure we can see that. Okay. Coming over to the chat now. I'll repeat it again. When your teen reacts in a way that frustrates you, eye rolls, sarcasm, shut down, snap back. What one word do you use to describe? Ooh, look at that. Disrespectful, very common. Overwhelmed, rude. Okay, so good. Yes, some people may say dramatic, attitude, defiant, disrespectful is a great word that summarizes triggered. Very good. Love it. Okay. When your teen rolls their eyes at you, what story do you immediately tell yourself? So this is a secondary question. What story do you tell yourself? And sometimes it is a similar story when they roll their eyes at you, when they are disrespectful to you. What does your brain tell you is happening right then in that moment? We need to slow down. The discussion schedule need a new time. Okay, that's great. That's great information. Sometimes I often hear people say that they don't respect me, they don't care, they think I'm wrong, something along those lines. When you start to feel that emotion trigger up, oftentimes it's them, there's something wrong with them, they need to change something. Have you ever gotten irritable? Another question. Have you ever gotten irritable when you feel overwhelmed? Not even necessarily with your teenager, with a friend, with a spouse, with your own parent, with a sibling. Do you feel like you get triggered? Do you get irritable when you're overwhelmed? Yes, I feel like it's somewhat of a rhetorical, like obvious question, but it's also just a question to be able to all of us recognize within ourselves. Have you gotten irritable when you get overwhelmed? Yes. When you were sharp, were you trying to dominate someone? Do you feel like in the moment where you got overwhelmed, were you trying to dominate someone or maybe trying to protect something? Oftentimes, yes, repeating yourself. Here's what I want you to consider. Most teen conflict isn't rebellion or disrespect. It's emotional overwhelm without language. Let me say that again. Most teen conflict isn't rebellion or even disrespect. It's emotional overwhelm without language. They don't yet know how to articulate what is happening inside of them. And if we're honest, most adults don't know how to articulate that very well. Most moms think they're dealing with disrespect, but I'd love you to consider maybe you're not. Maybe you're dealing with defense. And if you interpret defense as disrespect, you will escalate or be triggered every time. That's not because you're a bad mom. It's because you're using the wrong lens. Behavior is rarely about power. It's about protection. Alyssa, you got it. A+ on this test right here. It's about protection. A teen under pressure is like, I want you guys to tell me, we're going to test my drawing skills here. Let's see, I'm going to draw this and this. Let's just say it's a little smile, little feet. Who can tell my rudimentary drawing what I'm drawing here? Let's see. Can you tell? Can you see it? Yep. Okay. Tell me you guys can tell what animal. Yes, a porcupine. Kate Shuman. You guys got it. Okay. Hallelujah. I'm not as terrible of an artist as maybe I think I am. When a porcupine feels threatened, what does it do? Oh, good. I'm so glad. Look, you know what I even have? I have this porcupine. I got this several years ago to use for something. He's actually soft and furry. He doesn't seem as scary as an actual porcupine does. But when a porcupine feels threatened, it puts its quills up. It means it feels unsafe. Okay? I want you to imagine your teenager as this porcupine, that when they respond and it seems disrespectful, consider they're raising their quills because they feel unsafe. When your teen rolls their eyes, raises their voice, shuts down, that's their quills coming up. They put up their quills because they feel unsafe. The quills look like attitude, but they are protection. Think about that. When you learn to decode the behavior, instead of react to it, everything shifts. If you treat quills like disrespect, you attack the porcupine. If you see protection, you lower the threat. When you interpret protection as disrespect, you will be triggered every time. Let me give you a real example. After we moved during the pandemic, my older daughter, Alyssa, started experiencing social anxiety. And I did what I thought was helpful. I kept encouraging her to get out there and make some friends. I thought I was motivating her. But every time I brought it up, she got annoyed. Short answers, eye rolls, pulling away. And I remember thinking, why is she pushing me away? I am just trying to help. You ever said that to yourself? I'm just trying to help. Sometimes we say it out loud to our kids a little defensively. I'm just trying to help. But here's what I eventually realized. She was not rejecting me. She was protecting herself. Every time I suggested she just put herself out there, what she heard was, you're not doing enough. You should be handling this better. You're not capable. She actually said that to me, that my helpful suggestions made her feel incapable. That stung. But she was right. Her quills were not disrespect. They were defense. And once I saw that, I had to change my approach. She wasn't too sensitive. I was misreading the behavior. So let's summarize shift number one as we got here. What you think the problem is often disrespect, right? I'm going to write that here. We often think it's disrespect when teens XYZ. We can have a laundry list. What's actually happening is that they are protecting themselves. Let's write protection. And here's why that matters, because if you interpret protection as disrespect, you will respond with control, and control increases defense. But if you decode the behavior correctly, you respond with steadiness, and steadiness lowers defense. That changes the pattern. Your teen doesn't suddenly become different. You stop fighting the wrong thing. That's shift number one, decode the behavior. See defense, not disrespect. And when you change your lens, you change your response. You do not need a more obedient teen. They need a mom who sees them. Okay, great. We got it. Shift number one. Any questions about shift number one? I'm going to erase this. When I come back, if I see a question, I'll answer it. If not, I'm going to go on to shift number two. So remember the porcupine. Keep that in mind. Shift number two. Let's see. Okay, shift number two is what I call the conflict loop. Okay. It is a loop we can all get stuck in. Number two, conflict loop. Okay, don't see any questions, so I'm going to keep going. Have you ever thought, if I just had better scripts to say to my teen, better wording, if I could just say it all clearer, this conflict would stop? You ever thought that? Maybe if I just had better words to say. I share a lot of quotes, say this, not that scripts on Instagram and other places, and I think a lot of people are drawn to them. Like, yes, I need to learn to say things better. Okay, I teach scripts and they matter. For example, if your teen lies, saying something like, help me understand, instead of, what were you thinking? It absolutely changes the experience. So scripts do help. They are helpful. Scripts can improve a moment, but they do not fix the dynamic. They're not the lever. We're going to think about pulling on a lever on a machine. They're not the lever that makes the big difference. A lever is a small point of pressure that moves something bigger. Scripts can help, but they're not the thing that actually moves the system. They're not the pressure point that shift the dynamics. In other words, you can say the right words, but if the emotional pattern underneath doesn't change, the conflict will repeat. Scripts adjust surface behavior. Emotional safety, we're going to come back to this over and over. Emotional safety changes the structure. So scripts are a tool, a helpful tool, but they are not the force that moves the relationship out of the continual conflict loop. Okay, so let me hear in the chat, what is something that you are triggered by with your teenager? I'm going to draw the next section here while you guys are writing that. Tell me something that triggers you. There's no shame here. This is a great place to be able to talk freely about what you feel, because here's the reality. Scripts don't work when your emotions are triggered. So we're going to talk about our triggers here. Let's see. 1, got to draw a long line here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, did I do that right? I've got to make sure I gotta fill in these little gaps here. Make sure my markers are working good. There. We're gonna draw a loop. Do you guys see? This is our conflict loop. I'm gonna fill in the blanks here. Okay, triggered, love reading triggers. When my son stops talking, yes. Whistles after I say something to him, okay. When she tells me it doesn't even matter, short answers and no communication or sarcasm. When I try to start a conversation when they shut down. So good. Thank you for sharing. It's so beneficial for you to be able to identify your triggers more than anything. When you ask a question and they just stare. Yes. Okay. If you guys resonate with anything somebody else said, give them a like, because I think a lot of times we don't have words until we read when somebody else, and we're like, yes, okay, yes, relatable. Okay, scripts don't work when your emotions are triggered. They fall flat under pressure. Either you just forget because you're so emotionally triggered, your emotions are so high, you're flustered, or they don't land well because your teen can see right through it. Okay, you can have all the right words. It's all about this emotional safety. So the conflict loop starts with number 1. Let's see, let's write it with black so we can make sure we can read it well. I want to make sure you guys can see this well too. Okay, yes, you can see this way. My conflict loop circle. Okay, so it starts with a trigger, right? You guys all wrote a trigger, and we are all familiar with the trigger. What triggers the conflict? Something like you. So we have triggers with our teenager, and guess what? They have triggers with us. Not surprising. They are also triggered by the things that we say and do too. So something like you said to something like maybe you're saying to them, hey, did you finish your homework? Teens hear you're in trouble or you haven't done something in the timing that I'd like you to do that in. It seems very simple to you. You're not triggered, but they are. So think about this. Trigger could be, we'll just write here, we'll write homework. Oh, that didn't work out well. Homework. We got chores. We got phones, right? Anytime you talk about something that might, anytime you talk about something, they get triggered. So we're talking about their triggers. Okay. And then next in the loop is where the teen escalates. Okay. And a teen escalating is them saying something like, I was about to, or they eye roll at you because they're annoyed, even a deep sigh. I will tell you, I used to be very triggered by the deep sigh. Sometimes I hear it. And just know that your deep sigh can also trigger somebody else as well. But your teenager escalates. So you're asking about something, they escalate saying, like their escalating can be maybe an eye roll or I was about to. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so the next in this conflict loop is mom starts to explain herself, maybe defending, maybe a lecture. Mom explains, which is your body starts to go into alarm mode. You're saying something like, I'm just trying to help. You know what the kid calls this? They call it a lecture. Listen, I get it. You're just explaining mom to mom. I get it. You're explaining the situation to them. They feel like it's this lecture that feels even more frustrating, starts to trigger them even more. So then they start to defend themselves. The teen defends. Okay. And part of that defense may just be to fight back, saying something like, you always do this, or they walk away, some form of that. And then the next part of the conflict loop is mom intensifies. Maybe it's thinking, I don't want to be disrespected. Okay, I can't talk. And intensifies. talking and writing two different things is hard. Mom intensifies, maybe you feel disrespected. Maybe you say, we are not done here. Don't you walk away. Don't talk to me like that, right? And then the cycle continues. It starts to trigger even more so. Is this relatable? Have you felt this? Have you seen this? Do you feel like I see what we're talking about here? This loop continues as long as, okay, yes, as long as emotional safety is missing. What's missing? What are we asking is missing? Missing is, we're just going to write it really big here, safety. I make safety, emotional safety. I call it becoming trusted. They're all in this same family of words. Safety, emotional safety is what is missing in this conflict loop. Conflict isn't a communication problem. It is an emotional safety problem. And good news, it is a learnable skill. If explaining worked, this loop wouldn't exist. Willpower alone does not override your triggers. Just because you say, I'm not going to be triggered by them, I'm not going to be triggered, doesn't mean you have bad willpower. It means it is a skill that you are still learning. Knowing this, just knowing this alone, will not change your next argument. It is the training that changes it. The bigger goal here is to eliminate triggers, and that's a tough pill to swallow. But I can tell you it can be done. That's what I help moms do, because that's what I had to learn how to do. And I continue to help. I remember seeing a video a couple years back of a psychotherapist that said, was kind of asking about what your triggers are. And she's like, fun fact, when you identify your triggers, it gets one thing to identify your triggers and another to recognize that actually our life's goal is to strive to eliminate those triggers. And I remember being like, what? And originally felt a little targeted in that. And then the more I've studied it, the more I've realized, oh yes, when we have triggers, it's important to identify them so that we can work through how to not be triggered by them anymore. Because if you don't change your response in the loop, which is some of that, when you change your response, if you don't change your response, you will keep reinforcing the loop. But when one person steps out of the escalation cycle, the pattern breaks, and that is leverage. Let me summarize this for you. What you think is the problem is you need better scripts so that you could lecture better. But what's actually happening is you're both getting triggered and safety disappears. Because you cannot solve triggers with explanations. You need regulation, emotional safety regulation before communication. And regulation is trainable. Emotional regulation, emotional leadership is trainable. The goal is not to eliminate every single trigger. It's life. We're going to be triggered by things that come up, even if we don't identify it until they do come up. It's to eliminate your reactivity to them. You're still allowed to be annoyed by them. You're still human. You're not a robot, but it's to eliminate your reactivity to them. Conflict is not a communication problem. It is an emotional safety problem. You cannot explain someone into feeling safe and trusted. I'm going to say that one more time. This is the end of shift 2. So let me know if you have questions. You cannot explain someone into feeling safe or trusted. All right, shift number 2. We got that, our conflict loop. We got a good visual of this. I'm very pleased with my drawing here. Sometimes I'm not so sure about my drawings. So number 3, we're going to talk about is called the logic trap. So like I said, if you have any questions about shift number 2, pop them in the chat while I'm erasing here. I want you to let that marinate too. Some of this time is really meant to have it stick in deeper into your brain. Shift number 3, the logic trap. Okay, logic. Shift number 3. Okay, the logic trap. When your teen is contentious, tell me, this is another opportunity to type in the chat, what happens in your mind and your body? Maybe it's a tightening chest. Maybe it's feelings of frustration. Sometimes we just start to feel it come and bubble up. Tell me, it's important to identify for yourself what happens in your mind and your body when your teenager is contentious. Take a sip of my drink while you do that. I recognize sometimes it can irritate, great. Sometimes it can feel hard to identify exactly what it is. Anger, anxiety, great. Tense, tight chest, great, love it. Okay, love it, so good. Many of you have the false belief in yourself. I'm just reactive. This is my personality. I've always been this way. I've tried to change. And let me tell you, I know because I used to think that way too. I used to think it's just who I am. I can't do anything about it. I want you to know it's not true. A trigger is not your personality. It is a response, and responses can be retrained. Trust, emotional safety, they are learnable skills. Willpower alone, as I said, does not override triggers. If it does, you wouldn't be here today. Calm isn't who you are, it's what you are trained to do. I'm going to say that again. Calm isn't who you are, it is what you are trained to do. Now, imagine with me, we're going to talk about the thermostat in your home. I think it's always a funny conversation because we all have different ideals of what the thermostat should be, right? I'm going to draw two thermostats, and I'm going to say one is your teen and one is you. Okay, if we can imagine the thermostat in our home, it is, right, it's warm over here. We're just going to draw red for warm. And we're going to draw a cooler thermostat over here. You know, different times of the year. We all have different likes of what that looks like, right? Actually, I'm going to just draw this all the way here. That's what I meant to do, and I did not. So think about a thermostat and your teen's thermostat and your own thermostat, okay? And imagine both of you have a thermostat. When your teen turns up the thermostat, their tone rises, their attitude comes out. Maybe there's a door slam. So if they're turning up their thermostat, see, I'm going to get this a completely different color. We're going to go pink. If a teen turns up their thermostat, okay, and if you turn yours up too, we're matching the heat. Now the temperature in the room is rising on both sides. No one is stabilizing. No one is lowering the dial. You're matching heat for heat. But thermostats don't have to match. One thermostat can decide to hold steady. And when one dial stops climbing, the temperature in the room changes. Not in one moment, but over time. You don't control your teen's thermostat, but you absolutely can control your own. That is emotional leadership. That is the goal. When your teen escalates, you don't climb, you stabilize. So the next time they go up, your past went up, but you can absolutely train yourself to, see, we're going to erase this, a little pinky here. The goal is, you know, maybe at first it's like this, and then it starts to become like this, and then it's like this. The more you train yourself, the more you practice, the more you begin to stabilize more and more. I coached a mom whose son snapped every time she asked about doing chores. She told me, I just explode. I don't even mean to. But when we discussed and dug deeper together, she saw something. Every time his thermostat went up, hers followed. So she practiced her new response. She didn't lecture. She didn't escalate. She held her temperature. And within a few weeks, the door stopped slamming because the room stopped overheating. And a lot of people hear this and they're like, what? I'm just supposed to let them do whatever they want? No, becoming trusted is not being permissive. It's not doing whatever they want. It is all about your own emotional safety, your leadership, how you respond. When you think the problem is, I'm just reactive, what's actually happening is that your thermostat rises automatically because you've never been trained to regulate under pressure. And why this matters, because conflict cannot sustain itself without two thermostats climbing. When one holds steady, the pattern shifts. Remember, willpower does not override triggers. If it did, you wouldn't be here. Calm is not your personality, it's training, and training changes patterns. Hear me say this. You are not reactive, you are untrained, and untrained can become trained. That's the shift. How many of us were trained in emotional regulation growing up? Not me, very few. It's not your fault that you haven't learned the skill, and it's not too late. Calm is not personality, it is training. So if conflict is not about fixing your teen, let's do a little erase. We're going to erase our shift number 3 with the thermostats. So in summary of what we discussed today, if conflict is not about, let's see, get my little X. If it's not about fixing your teen, see, I've got a marker. Problems, conflict. So let's say fix your teen. Oops, teen. All right, we say it's not about fixing your teen, right? And it's not just about better scripts. We talked about these better scripts that a lot of people think if I could just say this better, then everything would be okay. It's not about better scripts. What does it mean? Good news. The good news is this. I'm going to get out my green check because it says you are the lover. You are lever. Now, I recognize this idea that you are the lever can feel defeating sometimes. My hope is that it feels empowering. How empowering is that you have the control to do something different? This is not about blame. There's no shame in this parenting game. This is about leverage. You may be thinking, listen, Kristen, you do not know my teenager. They are actually a big problem. And guess what? Two things can be true. I believe that you have a challenging teenager. I believe, I'm not saying everything is your fault. I'm not even saying it's all your fault. What I'm saying is you have the power within your hands to do something different. To me, I get excited about that. I feel empowered. I've heard some moms say, well, why do I have to do all the changing? Well, you are the adult in this situation. You have the opportunity to teach emotional safety. The great news about it is when you teach and implement emotional safety in your home, they then learn to implement it within themselves. They're learning this emotional training that they take to all of their future relationships. They learn it from you. You can't change your teenager. You can only change yourself. And when you do, the magic is that they start to change too. Now, most of you have been trying this on your own for a while. You're here because you need additional support. You've read the books, you've listened to the podcast, you've done some therapy maybe, you've gleaned insight from Instagram posts, but information without implementation does not create change. And implementation without support often does not survive real life. It collapses under pressure when those triggers arise. Now, you know a lifeguard doesn't sit quietly when someone drifts out too far. Imagine you're at the beach. You're at the beach enjoying the waves and the sun. There's a lifeguard on the stand. The lifeguard's not going to politely say, hey, whenever you feel like it, maybe just come back in. She blows the whistle. She jumps in. She gets loud if she needs to because she can see the rip current that you cannot see. Some of you are stuck in a parenting rip current right now. You think you're just explaining more. You think you're standing your ground, but you're being pulled into a conflict loop that is eroding trust. And I'm not going to sit quietly while you drift further out. If you've had any of these thoughts recently, I keep losing control. I'm scared of damaging the relationship. My home feels tense all the time. I don't feel like the mom I want to be. If you're a mom of teens who keeps reacting in ways that you regret and you're terrified those reactions are slowly creating distance, I have a solution for you. If you're afraid that if nothing changes, this distance becomes permanent, if you swore you were going to parent differently than your own mom, and now you hear her voice coming out of your mouth, if you're scared your teen won't come to you as an adult, you are in the right place. I have a solution for you. This class was the why. But knowing isn't enough. Insight without training does not create change. This isn't about trying harder. This isn't about willpower. You can't just try harder tomorrow. You're ready to learn new skills. Emotional leadership is training, a learnable skill. Now, I'm curious, did any of you take a language in high school? Comment in the chat what language you took. My son, Tyler, my oldest Tyler, who's 25, he took Spanish in high school. And I remember him saying, French and Spanish. Okay, I remember him saying, I am not learning anything, right? Book learning, sign language, okay, great. English, amazing. Book learning, we all know, doesn't necessarily do the trick. He had it for 3 years, didn't feel like he learned language, just doesn't cut it. When he really learned Spanish was when he moved to the Dominican Republic and he immersed himself with people speaking the language with him. That was true language acceleration. And I want to invite you to immerse in the language of emotional leadership and introduce you to the trusted world. I'm calling it the trusted island, which I've created a roadmap with tools to teach you the skills of emotional safety. When you're immersed, not just book learning, it engulfs your entire being. It accelerates your growth. You're on an island with other people speaking the same language, learning the same language, and it starts to become who you are and changes your being. I will be your guide and show you the way. Insight alone, without immersive training, does not create lasting change. As a coach, I have a few different ways that I can support you. And if this training today hits your heart, if you feel pulled to take a step into becoming trusted, I've opened a few spots today, right after this call, to have a one-on-one clarity call with you. And we'll set that up. I have it today and tomorrow. I'm going to drop a link here in a minute that you can select a time that works for you. On that call, we're going to identify your specific conflict loop. I'm going to offer you a mini coaching strategy right then and there that you can walk away and implement, and then we'll decide on your next best step. This is not a pressure call. I'm not here to guilt anyone into anything, simply to invite you to see that there is more on the other side. Just last month, I got on a clarity call with a mom who was in tears. She felt like she was losing her daughter and didn't know how to stop the spiral. She decided she did not want another year of the same dynamic. So she stepped into the discomfort, joined the Trusted Coaching Program, and started doing the work. And a few weeks into the training, she sent me this message. I was scared to talk to my daughter about a lie that I caught her in. Normally, I would have freaked out. She would have gotten defensive. It would have turned into a fight. But this time, I used what I've been learning. I stayed calm. We had a real conversation, and she actually apologized. That has never happened before, she told me. And she said, I just have to tell you, that's the shift. We're not looking for perfection. We're not looking for a different teen immediately, but a different response and a completely different outcome. If you believe emotional safety changes everything and you're ready to stop living in this loop, book your call. We will discuss what the next step will be for you. Because emotional leadership in your home will reduce conflict with your teenager. Patterns don't change because you understand them. They change because you train differently inside of them. I'm going to drop this link here while I finish reading some of this. If you want to do something different, if this felt a little uncomfortable, good. Growth never lives inside of comfort. At the beginning of this hour, we talked about the toddler running into the street and how you lovingly urge them to stop. Sometimes love sounds like urgency. And I love you, moms, too much to let you stay stuck. I'm calling to you because I've watched what happens when moms stay stuck in that conflict loop. And I've watched what happens when they step into support. One path leads to repetition. The other leads to relief. Relief from bracing yourself from the conflict with your teen. Relief from not trusting your own reactions. Relief from walking on eggshells. Relief from the tension in your home. When a mom learns how to regulate under pressure, when she decodes behavior instead of reacting to it, when she becomes the thermostat instead of matching the heat, the home changes. Not because this teen suddenly transformed, but because the leader does. And that's what I train inside of my 90-day coaching program. We don't just talk about emotional leadership, we practice it in real time, in real conflict, with real support. And moms don't wait 6 months to feel it, they feel relief in weeks. How would feeling relief with less conflict by the summertime feel to you? There are a few ways you can move forward. You can take what you've learned today and implement it on your own, and some of you will. But if something in you knows you don't want another year of the same loop, if you're tired of walking, feeling beaten down, if you're ready to feel relief, not just insight, hear this. You are not a lost cause. What you want is available to you, and I have a solution for you. When we chat on your clarity call, we'll look at your pattern, identify your thermostat. Maybe it's joining our program and maybe it isn't, but you will leave with clarity, and clarity is powerful. You do not have to stay in the conflict loop. There is a better way, and I would be honored to guide you into it. I've dropped the link. I'm also going to send an email out with the replay for this. It will have the link in there as well. But I have opened up slots for the next couple hours. I'm available to chat with you. I want to hear how I can best support you. And if joining this 90-day program is something that feels drawn to you, would love to have you. If not, I want to be able to support you because I care about moms too much to let you continue to live in this loop. Any final questions? I got 3 minutes. I'm shocked. Here I am, timed myself. I'm always very happy when I meet my goal of being under an hour. So look at that. Here for questions about the content that I taught. And I will talk with you on the clarity call about potential steps moving forward. Like I said, it's for some people and maybe it's not for others. I'm here to support you in where you need it. Love to see your faces. I see a couple of faces here that are already in our group coaching program, and I'm just excited to chat with you. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Any thoughts on why triggers are created by one child? Right? Because we're all so different. We're all different individuals. We're different humans with different, we all have a special concoction of challenges for ourselves, challenges with our parents, right? And so one child, I actually spoke to a mom last month and she's like, well, I've got 2 kids who think I'm a great mom, and this other child, not necessarily. And so it feels confusing, right? Like, oh, I'm connecting well with this child. Why is it not working with this child? And it's because we're all different, right? Same thing with my parents. Like, I didn't feel emotionally safe with my mom, but I have other siblings who did. And so I get why that's confusing. And really it's taking it child by child. I will also say for moms that I've been coaching for the last couple of years, they came for one child, learned all these skills, and now the next child, oh, wait, I now have to apply these in a different way. And it's just like all relationships, right? Like, why are you triggered by your 3rd grade teacher, but you weren't triggered by your 5th grade teacher, right? We all have just different personalities, even our children. So it doesn't mean, I really want to infuse into moms. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means there's skills to learn, and skills to learn that you apply to your teenager. It applies to them as young adults. It's going to apply to them as older adults. It applies to your spouse. It applies, these are relationship, these are life skills. We look at it under the lens specifically of teenagers because it is a challenging relationship. I have a heart for moms of teenagers. I recognize the painful place that it is because I both was there with my mom and I felt it with my own kids, and I have a solution for you. I look forward to seeing some of your faces on a clarity call. I'm going to hang up from this now and check my notifications to see when I get to meet up with you. You're so welcome. Thank yourself for being here. Give yourself love for being here, for learning, because not everybody's willing to step into this discomfort of learning and growing. And you are doing great things for yourself, for your family, and for the relationship with your teenagers. So give yourself love and kudos for that. I'm here to continuously cheer you on as well and remind you that you are an intentional mom and you're doing great things. Have a great day, everyone. I'll look forward to seeing you on the call. And look for the email. If you don't see the emails from me, look in your junk box. You're welcome.